Major General Rita Aragon, thank you so much for being here.
It's a real pleasure to be back. Thank you so much.
Now, I have the latest Department of Labor statistics of Afghanistan era, or Iraq and Afghanistan era veterans, and it says there's an estimated 220,000, and this is national, people that are without work, and then that was this year, and that's an increase from 185 last year. So I guess my question, what do those numbers tell you?
Well, it tells us a couple of things. One is that we've always known that veterans were unemployed at a rate of about 3 to 1 to non-veterans. And that's because they come back and there are a lot of things that keep them from rushing right out and getting a job. There are also things that happen to them that make them not as easily employable as they might have been before they got injured or hurt, or had a traumatic brain injury, or some of those things. It also tells me that we're downsizing the military a great deal, and to be truthful, from what I'm hearing, people, the military is looking for anything to be able to put you out. So if you are dysfunctional in any kind of area, if you can't do the job that you used to do, they are helping you find your way home. And then when they get home, then they've got to say, okay, now, how do I make a living now?
Let's talk a little bit about those injured veterans. And I know I don't want to portray that all veterans that come back are injured, but those that are, they particularly have a tough time.
Extremely so, because there's a real big gap between getting out of the active duty military and getting in services in the VA, sometimes as much as a year to 18 months. Okay, if I can't get my benefits from the VA and I no longer am drawing a check, I've got to find some way to be able to survive and hopefully to get some medical care. And so what ends up happening is you have some people who are not mentally ready to step into that world to get a job. You have others who are physically not able to step into that world, meaning we have a higher percentage of surviving amputees than we have ever had. But the truth is, it's really incumbent upon states and communities, both local and a global community, to look at how do we make sure these folks are getting some kind of care and are finding a way to make a living. General Eric Shinseki, who's the Secretary of the Veterans Administration in Washington, a former Army 4-star who was absolutely a soldier's general who really looked after his people. He's now looking after veterans, and he is saying, we are not going to have people living under bridges like we did after Vietnam. We're not going to have people who can't find a place to stay. We're not going to have this kind of rampant disregard for those who have served our nation so gallantly. And so there are a number of new programs, and I'm really excited because Oklahoma is instituting some of our own programs that have been locally planned and designed, and I think we're doing a lot that maybe people just don't realize what else is going on.
So General Aragon, let's talk about jobs. How are we doing here in the state?
Well, you know, we have a historic low unemployment rate, but still the rate of veterans to non-veterans is about 3 to 1. It is nationally as well. And so there are a lot of things that we're doing to try to make sure that we help folks find jobs when they come back. The state has a great consortium that I'm very, very proud of, and that's okjobmatch.com. And it's pulled Career Tech and the Chamber of Commerce, or the Department of Commerce for the state of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission, the Oklahoma Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, and my department, the Department of Veterans Affairs, pool together to devise and design this system that will allow veterans to come in and go to okjobmatch.com and take every job skill that they've ever had. And we end up doing an awful lot of training in the military on leadership, on interpersonal skills, on job operations, on job management. How do we teach, you know, young men and women to orchestrate and organize other people and get them to do jobs? And we have project managers, and there's such a demand for people who have those abilities and skills. And jobmatch.com literally does that. It lets you sit down and it will ask you questions like, how many people have you ever been responsible for leading or training or mentoring, or, you know, and there are all of those things that they can enter in that help them be able to find a job that helps them meet their potential, instead of just saying, you know, I was a rifleman, I carried a rifle. Well, you did a lot more than that. You were able to learn about security, understanding and giving orders about your own personal environment, situational awareness, all of those types of things, which employers desire greatly to be able to put people to work in all kinds of areas. Truck drivers, obviously, we talk about that a lot. Chesapeake alone had 800 vacancies wanting heavy truck drivers. And virtually every person in the military learns to drive equipment and trucks, and that's exactly what they're looking for. Paying some of their, and I'm not talking about cross country, I'm talking about locals where you come home at night, $70,000 a year. Not bad salary for driving a truck that you did on the busiest and scariest roads in the world, and you come home and you go like, okay, we have a little road rage going on now and then, but the truth is, we do have safe highways, but we need people who can manage to negotiate those.
What about those returning veterans that would like to transition into another field, kind of rebrand themselves? Job Match helps there as well.
Absolutely. It takes, you have the opportunity to go to Career Tech, look at something that's very different from what you've done but that you think you can do. You can look at jobs that are very similar to what you used to do in the military or that you did before you went into the military, or they may be jobs that you want to train to do and that you go in and say, I think I'm really good in IT, I've had some experience with it, and I'm going to get additional training in. And because so many jobs want to train you once you get there. They want someone who is willing and able to learn, ready to take some direction and move on in. And they say, we'll train you when we get you here, if you have the basic skills. And in today's military, you got to be able to read and write and pass entrance exams, and then we tutor them once they get in there. We make sure that they're able to communicate well. And as you know, in your career field, communication is essential. It is in virtually every career that we have. We've got to be able to tell people during some part of our career, our job, our time, what is going on, how either to fix it or what I need to fix it. And so those skills become very critical to us.
And it seems like there's no lack of good intentions, at least on the corporate side, of people wanting to hire veterans.
You're exactly right. I get calls every day from the corporate world, both huge companies like Chesapeake and Devon, down to mom and pop businesses that say, we want to hire veterans. How do we do that? That's the great thing that Job Match does. It will help them go out and find veterans who want to work. Right now, Oklahoma is one of the top 4 economies in the nation. And I know that because Governor Fallon just told the cabinet that. And she says, we want to keep it going. We want to keep moving on that. And it has been a lot of that, paying attention to the details. How do we keep people not just employed, but how do we help them to grow and to become more proficient at what they do, and to expand into areas that they've never had the opportunity to do before. So JobMatch.com will help us do that from the employer side, from the employee side, and certainly from the veteran side.
Yeah, and certainly a great place for anyone to start, whether you are a veteran, you have a family member or a veteran, or if you're just looking for a job and you're a civilian as well.
That's right. And if you're an employer and you want a particular kind of person with particular skills, you want someone who is very self-motivated, self-driven, a person who knows how to take direction, a person who is a good team leader, a person who's honest and has integrity. Those are the kind of folks that we're going to have on OKJobMatch.com.
All right, thank you so much, General Rita Aragon. Now, we do have much more about the benefits of hiring veterans on our website. Just go to OKHorizon.com, where we have an interview with Governor Mary Fallon on the role veterans will play in Oklahoma's economy. Plus, we'll also look at an interesting program to help disabled veterans become entrepreneurs. All that and more at OKHorizon.com.